Distinguished colleagues and friends, my name is Hasina Sherzad. I have been a part of organizing this exhibition. It's a great pleasure to welcome you all to our opening of this exhibition, Where There is War, There's Still Life. It shows the Afghanistan we need to save. For further information about the exhibition, I would like to invite Mrs. Elisabeth Eide, Professor, Emeriti, and co-founder of Journalism and Media International Center at Oslo Metropolitan University.
Thank you so much, Hasina. I'm proud to say that she's also a master student at this institution. Dear State Secretary, dear Ambassador, Excellencies, and friends of the people of Afghanistan. This exhibition was planned under other circumstances from the early spring this year. The idea was conceived at the Afghan embassy in Norway and was taken further by the Journalism and Media International Center here at Oslo Met, together with a very professional partner in Afghanistan. This partner is Afghan Photographers Association, for short the APA, without whom this exhibition would not have been possible. I can only convey loud salams from Mrs. Farzana Wahidi, the director of the APA, and I'm sure she would have liked to be here if circumstances had been different. The exhibition is a powerful message of a world which cannot survive in the same way, perhaps showing what is at stake if a peaceful and just and rights-based solution is not found. Far too often, the images from Afghanistan have been of war and violence, women suffering, and foreign troops and helpers. Afghanistan is a proud nation with a strong history of independence. In later years, civil society activists have worked to safeguard the constitution and the rights of different vulnerable groups. Many women have been in the forefront of these activities. Who are the photographers then? The APA made a call, and more than 600 photographers, more than 600 photos were submitted by scores of photographers from the ground in Afghanistan. 46 were selected by a very professional international jury. 6 out of the 27 photographers exhibited here are women. Quite a few of the photographers now fear for their future and therefore choose to remain anonymous, as you will see by a list that you will be delivered outside. Some have insisted, though, on having their names shown, perhaps as an act of defiance, or because they have reached exile. Anyway, what they show us under the title is Sides of Afghanistan, Afghan Life, which need to be seen to understand more of this beautiful nation with all its variety and diversity. The exhibition was planned also to open today in Kabul, actually in the Darul Aman Palace, which was laid in ruins after the civil war in 1990s, later beautifully restored, which I was able to observe with my own eyes at a visit in November 2019. However, it will not happen for obvious reasons right now. The message from APA, who has framed and prepared the exhibition already, is that they will try. They will not give up showing it in Afghanistan. we will have to wait. In the meantime, we hope to also have a digital version soon, and we are pleased to learn from our Ministry of Foreign Affairs that this exhibition will, by their efforts, also be shown at the headquarters of the UN later this autumn. A heartfelt thank you to all of you who have supported this in a variety of ways. I have mentioned the APA. In addition, I want to mention Kjersti Bin Hegna, who has been a curator here locally. She's an MA by the photojournalism department here, with other helpers at Oslo Met. I can't mention all names. You know who you are. In addition, of course, financial and practical support has come from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, from the Afghan Embassy, from the Fritt Ord Foundation, from the US Institute of Peace, and not least from Oslo Met itself. So thanks to all of you for making this happen in a very, very special time where the survival of Afghanistan, as many of us have learned to know it, is under threat. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Eide. Now I would like to invite Ms. Jans Frolich Holte, State Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Norway. Please.
Thank you, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellency, Youssof Ghafoorzai, Ambassador. Thank you also, Hasina Shehzad, for opening here, and also thank you to the partners of Oslo Met and Fritt Ord. I'm honored to be opening this exhibition, aptly named "Where There Is War, There Is Still Life." It's a collection of 46 photos from 27 different Afghan photojournalists and photographers. I also want to extend our gratitude to Farzana Wahidi and her team from the Afghan Photographers Association for collecting and presenting this impressive collection of photographs. These powerful images of daily life in Afghanistan reminds us of what we have been working for and what we must keep working for. Decades of war has made Afghanistan one of the poorest countries in the world. But even in violent conflict and humanitarian crises, people are looking for ways to overcome challenges and aspire for a better and more prosperous future for themselves and for the Afghan society. A future where everyone has access to education and can participate on equal terms in public life. This exhibition is a testament to the vibrant journalistic and photojournalistic activity that has been taking place in Afghanistan over the past 20 years. This important work, including by many female journalists and photojournalists, have contributed to a more open and democratic society and has provided important information on the life of ordinary Afghans. When this exhibition was planned, few of us anticipated how events would unfold with Taliban taking de facto control of Kabul and also the rest of the country. We are all deeply concerned about what will be happening for the next few days, the next few weeks, and also the next months. In the United Nations Security Council, Norway has called for the restoration of security and civil order and for urgent talks to ensure a peaceful and political settlement to the current crisis. Through our diplomatic contact with the parties in Afghanistan, we have called for a negotiated transition of power, a transition that is inclusive and also protects fundamental human rights for all Afghans. This must include the right of women and of girls to be protected from violence and also guaranteed equal participation in society. It must also include the protection of human rights defenders, journalists, filmmakers, writers, and other artists alike. In the current extreme situation in Afghanistan, we share the deep concern for the safety of the many brave women and men who for years have stood up for human rights, equal participation, and peace in Afghanistan. Many of these journalists and human rights defenders have been supported for years by Norway. We will work to protect freedom of expression for all journalists and all those who are doing an important job in documenting the situation. And we will do our utmost to make sure that the international community does not turn a blind eye on Afghanistan. This exhibition is an inspiration to others to keep fighting for a better future, whether it's life, where brave men and women are fighting for a better future, there will always be hope. The stories that are captured on a number of, by a number of photographers through their camera lenses and that are shown here today remind us how we, as humans, even in a time of conflict and despair, must continue to fight for an inclusive, just and durable political settlement that upholds human rights, especially for women, children and minorities. And I truly hope and believe that this exhibition will serve that purpose. Thank you so much.
Thank you, State Secretary, Mr. Holte. And now I would like to invite His Excellency, Mr. Youssof Ghafoorzai, Ambassador of Afghanistan to Norway, Denmark and Iceland, to deliver his remarks.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear friends, colleagues, thank you all for joining us here today. We're particularly grateful to you, State Secretary, for being here with us at the opening of this exhibition, which represents Norway's close friendship and partnership with Afghanistan. I want to thank my good friend, Professor Eide, and her colleagues at Oslo Met University, and also the Afghan Photographers Association for this important initiative, which we started planning several months back, as you mentioned. Obviously, the situation in the country, the situation in which this event is now being held is far different than what was initially anticipated. Today's exhibition highlights several important issues which have significance beyond just the important work, courage, talent, and dedication of Afghan photographers. This exhibition also helps to convey a very important message to the outside world at a very critical time in Afghanistan. As friends and partners, I'm sure all of you have a general sense of the current situation and what the people are now facing and experiencing. Scenes from Kabul International Airport have broken hearts, disturbed emotions, and led to questions of how, why, and what now by all Afghans inside the country, but also abroad. The images are extremely painful to any human eye and difficult for any conscience to comprehend. Parent, in many cases mothers alone, with children in arms, waiting in lines for hours amidst panic, fear, and uncertainty to board a plane and seek refuge abroad. The look of grief and setback in the face of many fathers who, without any fault of their own, feel powerless, unable to protect their families. Thousands of Afghans are leaving the country out of fear and uncertainty in hope of a better future. They have begun another difficult journey with heavy hearts, leaving family and loved ones behind, and the nation whose future will be determined by the decisions taken in Afghanistan and by the international community in the coming weeks and in the coming months. Even while abroad, those that have left will remain emotionally preoccupied with the plight of their fellow people and the many challenges associated with having to assimilate into a new society, a new culture, and new setting. Friends and colleagues, as you all know, the humanitarian situation in Afghanistan is extremely dire. More than 18 million people are in need of emergency humanitarian assistance. Over 500,000 IDPs in the past 3.5 months alone. The number of internally displaced now approaching 5 million, and more than 1/3 of the population lacking the very basics: food, water, shelter, and health services. All of this is taking place amidst the profound impact of COVID pandemic, a severe drought, and a harsh winter approaching. Yes, These facts and figures are striking, but they do not nearly reflect the severity of the situation on the ground. What's now needed is a more coordinated global humanitarian response. We anticipate countries and partner organizations to contribute to the UN's global humanitarian appeal, which thus far remains only 37% funded. International assistance by countries, development agencies, international institutions, including the UN, the EU, World Food Programme, and other partners, including NGOs, need to be scaled up significantly on an urgent basis. Friends and colleagues, what has unfolded in Afghanistan by no means reflects who we are as a nation. Throughout our history, the people of Afghanistan have contributed to the advancement of human civilization. We are a nation of sons and daughters that have made important contributions as poets, thinkers, artists, and scholars. Who better an example than the renowned and beloved Maulana Jalaluddin Balkhi, or Rumi as he is known to the West, who epitomizes the values of peace, harmony, love, and unity. Our rich culture, traditions, and spectacular nature in times of stability have attracted a steady flow of tourists from across the world who have become connected with Afghanistan in one way or another. Excellencies, esteemed friends, in a very unique way, some of the photos on display are reflective of the way in which the people have, in the past 2 decades, strived to regain the very spirit of Afghanistan's best of times, characterized by peace, harmony, and prosperity. The photos also symbolize the important gains of the past, the emergence of a new generation of youth as journalists, innovators, activists, civil servants, artists, and athletes representing a fundamentally transformed society. But the photos also send a strong political message of what's at stake now with respect to having to ensure that the historic gains of the past must not be allowed to be jeopardized as efforts continue to stabilize the political situation through a comprehensive political agreement, an agreement that has the support of the absolute majority of the people and which should lead to the formation of a broad-based, fully inclusive, and representative government comprised of all ethnic groups in the country. It is only through reaching a common understanding and fostering a spirit of national unity that we will be able to, again, place Afghanistan back on the path of progress and stability. Upholding human rights, fundamental freedoms, and enabling the people to determine their political destiny and to have equal opportunities, especially women and girls, are now among the main demands of the people. And in order to secure the agreement to which I'm referring, flexibility, compromise, and political will are fundamental conditions that must be upheld by the Taliban. This imperative is what's now expected by the people, but also by the international community. The important role of Afghanistan's international partners in helping reach such an outcome cannot be overstated. Moreover, all Afghans expect for their God-given basic rights to be adhered to and respected through deeds and actions, not just words. Among these, the safety and security of the people should not have to wait until an agreement is reached. This needs to be ensured now. All citizens, including human rights defenders, journalists, former government officials, civil activists, and members of security forces must not be under any threat or intimidation whatsoever. This exhibition is a product, but also a representation of the talent, dedication, and courage of a new generation of Afghans, especially women, who have broken barriers to achieve their aspirations. Distinguished guests, colleagues, having to deal with challenges and tribulations is part of Afghanistan's history. Afghanistan is a proud nation that has always found a way to persevere and to overcome what always seemed impossible. Our national unity has been the basis of our national strength, and this will, once again, enable us to get past this difficult point in time. I thank the Afghan Photographers Association for their important work, and as I mentioned earlier, they sent a very powerful message at a very critical time. We look to the international community to heed to the call of the people in standing in full solidarity and support in this time of need, meeting the humanitarian needs and helping reach the comprehensive settlement and broad-based inclusive administration representing the will of the people with guarantees for preserving the rights of all Afghans and democratic gains are now two key priorities. And to conclude, I want to thank our friends at Oslo Met University for the very close partnership with the embassy over the past year and a half, which has included the start of long-term partnerships between this university and Kabul University and Kabul Medical University in the areas of education and prosthetics and orthotics. We look forward to continuing this cooperation in the way forward. And such collaboration is also an example of the very close cooperation and partnership between Afghanistan and Norway, a close friend and ally that has stood beside the people of Afghanistan in difficult times. Such collaboration is also an example of the close partnership between our two countries. Norway's contributions have been a key part of some of the most important gains over the past 2 decades. This is a partnership which we value very much and which we look forward to continuing in the way forward. I thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ambassador. Some of your words actually touched my heart. Following the agenda, I would like to invite Mrs. Nina Waaler, Rector of Oslo Metropolitan University. Please, the floor is yours.
Dear friends, guests, and colleagues, thank you for the opportunity to open this fantastic exhibition, and I'm so glad to see you all here. As we all know, it's a disturbing time in Afghanistan, a country that has experienced war for more than 40 years, with great human sacrifices and losses. We remember the dark time of the late 1990s, when the Taliban ruled and universities were closed for women, and so were the majority of schools, while brave women ran home schools at great risk. Earlier this year, Oslo Met signed an MOU with Kabul University, and we were excited to develop our collaboration. Now we are worried about the future, but we remain committed to our agreement if still possible. We hope Kabul University will function as before, with female teachers and allowing female students to study as before in an atmosphere of academic freedom. Still, we already know that hundreds of Afghan researchers in recent days have turned to the international network Scholars at Risk for help in getting out of Afghanistan now. Academics fear for their own safety and for the future of universities and research in the country. We have already been in contact with Scholars at Risk, and we would like to help by welcoming a researcher at Oslo Met, for which we provide the funding if necessary. This exhibition shows that the achievements of the journalistic and artistic freedoms enjoyed by photographers during the last decades, and this is impressive work. It's really powerful to see how the people of Afghanistan have managed to go with their everyday life in such challenging and inhumane conditions. It's especially important that we engage with this exhibition now, given what is happening in the country as we speak. Congratulations to all the talented photographers and contributed to this exhibition. Thank you.
Thank you, Rector Waaler. And as our last speaker, I would like to invite Mr. Knut Olav Åmås. Knut Olav Åmås is Director of Free Expression Foundation. Please.
State Secretary, Ambassador, Excellencies, dear friends. The Norwegian painter Edvard Munch once said that the camera can never compete with a brush and palette in the painting, as long as it cannot be used in heaven or hell. But it can. it can. War photography often shows us how, and this very interesting exhibition is really brilliant. Also shows us how documentary photography can give the world a visualization of life at its worst and life at its best, under all circumstances. It gives us very strong impressions of human life and human beings in the very special situation that has been Afghanistan during the last 20 years. Photography, in a way, is life lit up. So thank you to the organizers for bringing this exhibition to Oslo. Today, the future of the people of Afghanistan is extremely uncertain, as we have heard and as we know. As the world, as parts of the rest of the world is fleeing from the troubles it is partly responsible for. Powers so far known to be authoritarian and extremist have taken control, and only time can show if more moderate forces will win. At the present time, human rights and freedom of expression defenders fear for their lives. Vulnerable people in need of evacuation should, of course, be offered help from governments, including Norway. The experiences from the late 1990s, when Taliban last ruled, must not be repeated. It was a time with practically no media or art allowed, and severe restrictions for women, also for many men. In this dramatic situation where everything is uncertain, an exhibition like this should inspire us to contribute. Independent journalism, including photojournalism, gives us a picture of exactly what is at stake, like this exhibition shows. And perhaps it could have a real influence on what will happen and the support. It is hard to underestimate, of course, the value of foreign journalists that have decided to stay in Afghanistan today. And of course, it's also understandable that many flee the country for security reasons, also Norwegian correspondents. But in this situation, it should make a deep impression on us that some of the world's bravest journalists actively travel into Afghanistan to be able to show the new realities as they are, and risking their life for it, they too. Like the Norwegian eminent photojournalist and filmmaker Anders Hammer, he says, "I feel a moral responsibility to be in Afghanistan and work there right now, to document what is happening in the time to come." But more important than ever is the contributions from Afghan journalists and photographers themselves, of course. We need to assist them in every way possible and spread their reports to the world and also to decision makers globally. The most relevant impressions of a dramatic situation are always shaped by people living there. And the present exhibition, where there is a war, there is still life, illustrates how and why this is so essential. It should fill us with respect and humbleness, because you don't take a photograph, you ask quietly to borrow it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Olmos. I would like to ask Professor Eide to give token of appreciation to all the speakers here.
This is a gift from the photojournalism department of Oslo Met.
Thank you, Professor Eide. As a musical conclusion of this part of the event, I would like to invite famous pianist Mr. Sivin Amand Skare to play a piece by Harald Saurud called Kjempevise Slutten, dedicated to Norwegian resistance movement during the Second World War. And after this, you all are invited to take a walk in the lobby to study closer the unique photography and pictures by Afghan photographers. Thank you.